So, buddy, it was a long weekend of sports. Of course, with the heroes come the villains. So we're going to kick off your segment of the show today, as we are in the second hour of the show, with your Sport Willy of the Week.
Absolutely, yeah. I've got some fairly good ones this week. Starting off with Brian van Zyl. The I'm not sure what you would term as job title at the moment. Sort of
Yeah, what would we do this as? The soon-to-be
John,
departed CEO.
yeah, John Smith's sidekick, or I'm not sure what he goes as, but yeah, soon to be departed CEO of Sharks Rugby, who's holding John's hand until February, I think. But not shy to put the knife in, it seems. So yeah, I mean, basically, as we know, John's sort of first decision before he was actually officially in the driving seat, but was to give John Plumtree the goose step, as it were.
Yeah, does this come back to unfair treatment at fitness sessions? Tell you what,
Turning him into
I
a
think
prop
it comes
when he's a
back
hooker.
to when you move a hooker to loose
yeah,
head.
let's be honest, there's always a little bit of a story behind the story.
You know, I mean, P. Divvy made the move to tight head, and then Plum kind of said, "Well, if you're going to move him to tight head, I'm going to move him to loose head." And yeah, so I think Plum was always on a hiding to nothing with Smith coming in, but yeah. Anyway, old Brian van Zyl wasn't shy to say, well, he would have kept Plum on for another 2 years, which, you know, a subtle no comment would have done.
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny how
So,
the
yeah,
subtle no comment does not get the airtime it needs in most situations.
I mean, here's a guy who's got he's been running the Sharks pretty much since they became the Sharks.
Yeah.
You know, and hung up their banana boys. And you would think, you know, he's got adequate experience to know when to not comment. And I mean, what good has it done? And then what's happened subsequently is every newspaper hack out there has phoned one of Plumtree's old mates that used to play rugby with him, guys like Craig Jameson and John Allen and all these guys that were teammates of his in the sort of Sharks team of the decade era, you know?
Yeah.
And
Tony Watson.
and you know, and they've voiced how outraged they are at Plumtree's treatment. And but the fact is, you know, he's been in charge for a good 5-6 years now, and you know, when you look at the squad he's had, yeah, he's won 2 Currie Cups, but the first one he won was probably a lot to do with Dick Muir's building of a team, you know,
Yeah.
rather than Plumtree's. But anyway,
Okay.
so Brian van Zyl, just for putting the knife into, you know, John Smith hasn't even taken over yet, and he's already pulling a knife out his back.
Yeah, speaking of which, Darren's hosting the Sharks Golf Day today. Talk about a tough crowd.
Well, here's a
Yeah.
little bit of trivia around Sharks coaches. Is that the last Sharks coach that didn't play under Ian McIntosh at some level of rugby was Ian McIntosh.
Really?
Yeah, really. If you include Strally and Fenton playing from under the Springboks, you know, they're all ex-players under McIntosh, so it's just
Yeah.
the McIntosh influence is just not going away. There's one thing I find noticeable about the Sharks.
Maybe he's the Don of Sharks rugby. But I mean, the funny thing about Mac, I mean, just while we're on him, is cheapest. I mean, a couple of my mates sort of played for Natal Wildebeest and things, and I remember hearing stories about Mac in the late 90s, not knowing people's names who were training at Sharks rugby games. And, you know, telling guys, why the hell are you here, when he had invited them to training, you know. So, yeah, I'm not sure Mac's all there, to be honest. But anyway, let's move along swiftly. The next would be, I know you mentioned him earlier, but old Bob Willis.
Interesting to see why you've included him in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Bob basically having a go and laying it out. You know, Bob's not shy of holding back. He's kind of the English version of Pat Simcox without the spiced gold. Or the triple exclamation marks on Twitter. But yeah, Bob had as you know, had a full go about basically accusing the English of ball tampering, with little evidence, it seems. And you know, we've seen English players in the press having a go back at Bob, and I think only James Anderson has a leg to stand on, because he's also got 300 Test wickets. But I'm pretty sure Bob's going to at some stage blame Jonathan Trott, because
yeah, well, I think it only comes to
that's what he does.
I love the blaming of Jonathan Trott. I love seeing all the English blame Jonathan Trott for all their ODI woes.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know if you guys follow Trott's Fault,
Yeah,
which is
it's
Jonathan.
awesome.
And you know, his profile is "It's all my fault. This I know, for Bob Willis and others told me so," which pretty much sums up Willis. So I'm sure he's going to name Jonathan Trott as the ball tamperer at some stage.
Ah, brilliant.
But because I mean, we all remember Trott getting 86 of 110 balls or something, and Willis calling it a match-losing innings.
Yeah. What would the world be without English cricket, English football, English rugby? They're so great. To be honest, let's call a spade here. These guys make sport interesting.
The drama created around the
Even if
oh,
it's
man.
purely through cock potential, it's these guys are great.
I mean, yeah, I know. I mean, who accuses their own side of ball tampering? You know?
Absolutely.
Like, it's fantastic.
No, that's great. Absolutely great.
But anyway, so Bob Willis is in there, but I don't think he's up for the running. And then my third choice is a guy that it's pretty much signed and sealed as far as I can see for Sport Really of the Week, and especially with Father's Day and all that over the weekend. And that's the dad of the 17-year-old cricketer.
I'm so glad you brought this up
Yeah.
because I was going to put it in the headlines, but I wasn't sure how to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, here you've got a St. Charles pupil's dad who last month took the school to court to reinstate his son as captain, and has now filed papers on the coach who he wants to sue for, I mean, I'm not sure how he calculated this, but for 2.1 million rand.
Damages.
For damages.
Is this because he's now robbed his son of an IPL contract in 10 years' time or what?
I think he's thinking long term here. But you know, when I look at the Suns' figures, you know, the poor bugger got dropped. Okay, apparently he was quite talented at a young age, and then kind of, I don't know what happened, but he then had scores of 0.02, 0.04, and ended up in the second team.
Sounds like he sounds like that Marsh guy from Australia before he got the arse.
Well, that's the thing, is maybe the dad has been watching, you know, guys like David Warner and Marsh, and I mean, who else before them? But you know, guys that continue to fail and carry on getting picked. So I think we've probably set, you know, the standard's been set. Obviously, he thinks that, you know, his son's going to come right at some stage.
So he shows up in court giving the pick on class, not on form argument. Like in court.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Class
Your Honour.
Form is temporary, class is
Oh,
permanent.
look at this YouTube video of my son going out. You know, really? Oh, man.
Just look at him dispatching my wife of a car in the garden.
No, I mean, it's a fantastic story, and I mean, let's hope he doesn't bloody win anything. But his son also, I mean, I think he's a batsman, but he did average 12 the whole year last year. So you know, I'm not really backing the guy on the talent stakes, but yeah, you know, good luck, Dad.
Well, look, if nothing else, the dad's won something today because he's definitely our Sport Willie of the Week. So I'm sure he can take that if the court case, however, goes.
Yeah, and clearly, I mean, you know, one of the things in one of the articles I read said, Dad, you know, there are racism claims. There's a whole bunch sort of thrown in there, but yeah, he definitely can add Sport Willie to the week. I'll probably get sued, I guess, but
I know we're all gonna get sued for this, but that's okay.
let's join the queue. Huh?
We need the press. I'm just hoping that we get sued for more than the high school. Otherwise, we're seen as lesser people. Cool, buddy. So that's him, huh? Unanimous, Sean.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Look, he definitely lowers the bar of our like sort of star quality for Sport Willie of the Week, but we've got to be democratic, yeah. We've got to be assessing all of them for their willingness.
No, absolutely. It's quite a big week when David Warner doesn't make the top 3.
Yeah,
But rightly so. Rightly so.
David Warner, you know, I mean, he should be getting medals for hitting English cricketers, shouldn't he?
Well, again, I took a lot of flack on Twitter from some Aussies that don't have a great sense of humour, and I said, I don't see what the big deal is here. Is an Australian acting like an Australian? Why must we knock someone's culture?
Exactly, discrimination.
Aussies go out there drinking their fights. That's what happens when they go to England.
Joe Reed just happened to be the plonker wearing a beard. Yeah? I mean, listen, if you're going to strap on a beard, you're going to get hit at some stage. Yeah?
Well,
I really wanted the headline to be Warner defends Amla in alcohol-related incident.
Which would have been kind of funny because then it would have been reverse Warner, because Warner had the big spat at the journalist for lumping him with Sreesanth and match fixing. Can you imagine? Amla comes out, why are you lumping me with booze? You
No, fantastic. I mean, didn't you also got injured wearing a Hashim Amla beard?
I did actually, yeah. I was trying to put on a Hashim Amla beard while running at full pace, and I broke my hand. But
Did David Warner tackle you, man?
David Warner did not tackle me. It was actually a pavement.
Okay.
Anyway, enough of sober stories for the show. Okay, so unanimous sport willie of the week is the dad who's trying to take, what's it, St. Charles?
St. Charles, yeah.
Trying to take St. Charles to court for dropping his son after averaging 12 and a series of noughts and very little else.
Listen, I'm not sure if things have changed, but in my day, making the St. Charles first team wasn't something to be proud of.
Well, there's that too. I know a guy who actually went there. I'll keep his name anonymous, but yeah, he used to play first team rugby, I think, and he still can't catch a ball. Anyways, Billy, thanks so much. We're going to take a song, and then we're coming back to our discussion with the three of us. We're talking British and Irish Lions, of course, the big first test this weekend in Brisbane. And in a few minutes' time, Jake White looks to be blunting them. We'll talk about that.
That City of Angels one. That's embargo on the show for that one. I
Oh,
like Goo Goo Dolls, but not that.
Is that because you cried when you watched City of Angels? And do you often ride a bike and pull
I
out the
defy
tape?
anyone not to cry on watching that movie.
Well, speaking of people who don't cry when watching movies, I think Jake White would be one of them because he's being all hard-assed about the Lions losing either today or Saturday. And he says, and I'm quoting him off the internet, which means that he could maybe not have said this. He said, one defeat will derail the Lions tour. Now, Billy, the three of us are going to spend the next sort of 20 to 30 minutes talking about this Lions tour and what's happened so far, what's about to happen as we go into the test. First up, do you guys agree with Jake White on that?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't see it. Maybe he's correct, but I think it's quite a hectic thing to predict if they do and that it'll just unravel like that. It's a strong team. It's a strong squad.
Look,
I certainly don't think losing against the Brumbies tonight, I don't think they will, first of all. And if they do, I think it'll have very little bearing on the first test anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing of it, I mean, very few of these, some of these guys just came into the squad playing the Brumbies tonight. And a lot of, like a guy like Shane Williams was brought in just specifically for this game. So I mean, the idea that this game is going to hold too much baggage, dirt track a loss if they do sort of too much baggage towards it. I don't know. I don't.
yeah,
think so.
I think it's just more fodder for the journalists. I think we spoke about when we first previewed this tour is that it's just a massive shame how these games outside of the test are very sort of, well, who cares really?
I think Jake's quite enjoying getting stuck into this kind of thing without actually being part of the test arena.
Well, exactly. That's the thing about Jake. He's the past master at that, and who knows? He could be pushing for that British and Irish Lions job in the years to come. He's not going to rule that out. But
I mean, that's the thing. It's the international window, and I think Jake's missing out. He sees Heineken in the press, and he sees Gatland and the rest of the guys, and maybe he just wants, he wants his moment. Jake, he's not shy of a bit of publicity.
No, he's not. I wouldn't go as far as saying he's a Richard Branson of rugby, but he's close on when it comes to getting press. But the whole thing is this tour has been a big disappointment as far as, well, no one's really bothered about it up until now. If you just look at points for and against, points for 261 for the Lions, points against 54. The only real sort of threat has been the Reds. Decent match, but I think they're always going to win that one. And I think they were always just trying to get combinations. A part of me thinks that they could have clicked on Saturday against the Waratahs, but again, how strong is that Waratahs team? What's the big motivation? They're still, they're missing some players. It's so tough to tell. But now all of this, I don't know what that noise was. I'm getting many strange looks. I promise you, it was not me.
Let's go with a chair.
Anyway,
Definitely a chair.
Funny studio noises aside, it all comes down to this Saturday. And then, Sean, I know you've been looking at this team quite closely. Are there some settled combinations, and what are we going to look at as far as Saturday's test lineup against the Aussies?
Well, Gatton's had quite a few injury scares in the back, and there's got to be quite a bit of reshuffling there from his ordinary plans, I would think. The forward pack, I think, is getting quite settled there. You can tell he's gone today, for today's game, he's gone with Sean O'Brien, Justin Tipperich, and Toby Faletau to start. So I think it's fair to say none of those guys are going to be starting the first test.
Which is interesting because Faletau was picked as a pretty strong, starter.
That's the thing.
I thought he would start at 8. I was quite surprised when he was named for.
Well, I thought he was going to think about an all Welsh back three,
especially in
loose trio,
especially in that part of the world. I think Faletau would feel right at home.
But I really just think Heaslip's form has just really put him to the forefront here. Heaslip's had a fantastic tour so far, and I just think he's kind of just made himself unable to be left out. The one person that you could question should be left out on form is actually Sam Warburton, the captain. Because if you look at all those guys, you look at all the loose forwards. Now, Warburton, he's been known as an open-sider. He played blind-sided in the Six Nations to accompany Tipperich's good form. And I think he's been known to play number 8 for Cardiff as well. So he covers all of them. But you look at all the form of all the loose forwards, and you've got to say Sam Warburton has probably contributed the least out of all of them.
But it's tough that you cannot not field. I mean, you're your starting captain.
Exactly. And I mean, you've only got so much time to prepare your team with the British Lions. It's a guy at the forefront's got to be. And the other question was also a little bit, I think Lydiot's on the bench today. That's the Welsh blindsider flank. Which probably means, because that's another decent question between is it Lydiot or is it Tom Croft? Tom Croft probably offers a bit more of a line-out option, even though I know Lydiot's worked as a jumper before, if I'm not mistaken. But we're probably looking at a back three combo of Tom Croft, Sam Warburton, and Heaslip, which is, I think, is going to offer a lot.
Well, it is. And just going into this first test, we all picked, Billy, I think you included, we all picked the Lions to win this first one if they are going to win any of them, because they've had great preparation to get to this. Of course, the Wallabies have been like all the Southern Hemisphere sides. It's all coming together, and they've had limited time. But now, who's going to counter this sort of loose trio, Billy? Have you been monitoring these Aussies? What have they got, seeing as Higginbotham's totally out, George Smith not in the mix? Who is going to be their sort of fetcher? Big thing in this.
I think it'll be. Is Hooper still available?
Yeah. So,
so basically, they're fielding a 17-year-old boy against the Lions.
Do you think he'll crack the starting lineup there, Sean?
I think, it'll be a tough gig between him and Liam Gill, but I think Hooper's got the inside track. I think he does.
Yeah.
And he had a very good tour, and he was man of the match in the Autumn International in Twickenham last year. So
he's a good player, but the Aussies have, because Pocock's still out,
after the year.
So with him, Smith, and Higginbotham out, that's the Aussies' depth is always questionable, and those are 3 top quality players.
Got hit at loose forward this year badly. The Higginbotham injury was a real big one.
And if you want to look at tight tests, the loose trio is definitely something that comes into it. And the Aussies have always been able to kind of spoil opposition ball, and they've always had a good number 6, or for them a number 7.
Yeah.
Listen, Hooper's no mug there. Huh? He'll compete.
He's had a great season. It's getting better and better.
He's no Dion Stegman.
No, that he is not. Okay, so look, the Lions are always going to be great up front. I think they're always going to have the bulk, and there's a lot of intensity about that. I think they're going to have the edge in the loose forwards as well. When it comes to the halfback pairings, again, this is something where Australia have not been that strong with. No one really knows what's going on there. Genia will start. Genia is pretty much the team. But now number 10 for the Aussies.
I think it'll be Beale. I think he's going to go with Beale.
Okay,
I think O'Connor's going to start at 10.
Yeah, it's
you've got to pick a guy who hasn't had drunken disorderly rap sheets all throughout the year going into a Lions test, surely.
I think what he might be thinking, he's brought him in the squad for a reason. I don't think if you're going to bring Beale in, he was going to play, is partly what I think about it, It's just like if you're going to worry about his history for the series, then he shouldn't be in the squad at all.
Exactly.
Exactly the same way he treated Cooper, So
when you pick Beale, you got to look at the preceding week. Have there been any cause for celebration? And Father's Day, that might get James O'Connor in there, because I don't think he's a father yet, and I'm sure Kirtley is, and he was probably out celebrating yesterday.
Is James O'Connor old enough to drink yet as well? Might be another candidate as well.
This is what's so great about the show. You get insights you won't find anywhere else. So Father's Day is actually you can pick an Aussie fly off on Father's Day alone.
But anyway, look, I've always found when trying to pick the Aussie backline, there's many ways that you can make the argument in terms of which you'd actually go with combinations. Personally, I would look at Beale at 10 and O'Connor at 15. I think Beale offers more at 10 than O'Connor does at 15. And the Australian side looked a whole lot more settled last year when Beale was actually the fly half. So I think Robbie Deans might want to continue with that work, because I think he was enjoying his backline under Beale a lot more than the other ones.
Okay, to that point, we've worked out that I think the forward pack would have the edge. They're definitely going to be more structured, the Lions. So by playing Beale, are Australia then going to rely on the fact that an open game is going to win this for them?
You got to be careful doing that, though. Because that Lions backline is pretty slick in itself. These aren't just guys that bash it up. Johnny Sexton is a really, really good distributing fly-off. And his kicking game is also good in terms of bringing backs into play. This isn't just going to be a bash him up with your normal typecast Northern Hemisphere fly-off, trying to kick you into the corners and trying to just put pressure on. and lean on you in the game, you know.
I see. What's his name? Jamie Roberts is looking doubtful, and I mean he's a big ball carrying 12, so they're probably going to play um, the other Welsh guy. What's his name?
Davies, not your mate,
Davies.
not your friend, but the other
Yeah,
Davies.
not the
is there.
commentator.
Yeah.
He has a special place in his heart for me.
Oh, wasn't that fantastic in Twitter? Oh, it was beautiful.
But yeah, I mean, he's classy as well. And then
Yeah.
you know, it looks like obviously not selecting Brian O'Driscoll at all in the 23 tonight. I think they're going to wheel him out at 13.
Well, yeah, this was the thing about it, just because last week I saw him limping in the combined, those guys, the Queensland, New South Wales combined rebel guys, you know, and I saw Brian Driscoll was limping, and then the next day I saw them fly out Billy 12 Trees from England, the England hooker with the great Apache sounding name.
Yeah, you know that things are up when you fly him out.
Yeah, so I thought there might have been, but I was waiting to see who his 12 Trees replaced, and it wasn't anyone in particular. It was just general cover for Niggles, they say, you know.
Billy 12 Trees.
And so,
basically to help Brian O'Driscoll down the corridor.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's far ways to kind of, I mean, there's ways they can do the center combination. I mean, with Roberts out, I mean, Roberts was probably the one criticism of the squad that you could look at is that it didn't have that many 12s in it. It was more, there were more 13s. And so losing Jamie Roberts is massive in it. So, I mean, obviously Barrett's not going to feature. So I agree with you, Billy. I think we should probably look towards Davies filling in at 12. And then at 13, O'Driscoll, I think that you'd have to go, well, leaving out Tuilagi is huge.
How old is O'Driscoll?
O'Driscoll's now 35, I think.
He's become like the Tendulkar of rugby. Enough now.
Yeah, older than Bucky's.
But they've talked about O'Driscoll at 12 as well before the tour. So, you know, but that would be a bit left field.
And the one game where O'Driscoll and Tuilagi played together, they had Tuilagi at 12.
Yeah.
Which is again, so I mean, they've been trying to experiment a bit with it. I think a part of it is that Gatland wanted to move the positions around of the guys in the center to try to get used to different phase play. Because like a lot of these guys in Europe, I mean, you know, you don't see like so much 5th phase, 6th phase, 7th phase ball happening at pace in Europe as you would do down here. So I think a part of it was trying to get used to guys like, you know, just not being in your set position to backline like you would be in a scrum.
And I suppose, like Ben mentioned earlier, like leaving out Falatar, I mean, who's going to break the Aussie, like Islander line-out codes? You know, so maybe Tuilagi will get a sniff there.
Well, Tuilagi will be fielding himself at 9 for the line-out. Okay, so it seems like there's a bit of a soft spot then in the back line for the Lions. And Farrell, how long is he out for? And firstly, what happened to him?
He's on the bench.
He's fine. He just won't play.
Because I thought he was going to be like the star of this tour. The way they were bringing him up.
It was always going to be Johnny Sexton. It was pretty much the.
For a second now, I thought Warner might have punched him as well, and he's out for a couple of weeks.
I think you'll see. You'll see Farrell on the bench for this game. That I'm pretty sure.
Unless
something happens to Sexton.
I generally thought that after, especially when him and Johnny Wilkinson went toe to toe in that Heineken Cup, whatever it was, that he was going to be the one going through. But Johnny Sexton is. The problem is at centres now. Sean, you said the wings. They had to bring out some old treaded, or not even retreaded old wingers just for this game today. Who's going to start for them in that position?
I think you'll look at. Well, it's been originally. I think he was thinking of having an all Welsh back 3. I think he wanted Alex Cuthbert, George North, and Lee Halfpenny, with the form of the other guys depending.
Because you would think Halfpenny straight away, because he's kicking a goal as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's only missed one kick the whole tour. And he kicks them a mile as well. He's been fantastic. And the other fullback cover was, there were 3 fullbacks in the squad. It was Halfpenny, Rob Carney, who's been struggling with injuries throughout the tour. He'll start at fullback today. It'll be his first outing for the Lions series. And Stuart Hogg, who's playing fly half today to cover so that Farrell and Sexton can be involved in the weekend. So it's probably looking towards Halfpenny at fullback. I thought he might have had a half thought about shifting him to wing and bringing Hogg in, but I think Halfpenny's going to start at fullback, looking at who's starting in today's game.
Because you've also got the New Zealander Maitland who can fit in.
Yeah,
he was playing on Saturday.
So now you got to look at North and Cuthbert's injury conditions, which I don't think they've been ruled out for Saturday, but they're in. But they're in doubt. There's an injury cloud here about that. So I think it'll bring Sean Maitland into play if one of them doesn't make it.
And Tommy Bowe, you're forgetting him. I think he's
out.
He's also doubtful. But
he is doubtful.
I read something this morning about him him looking good maybe for the weekend. And if he's fit, he'll certainly be in the mix somewhere.
If he's fit, he's probably in the mix anyway. And also, how good was Simon Zebo looking on the weekend in the game against the Waratahs?
Yeah, he played pretty well
So
too.
that was that was a touch and go selection in the first place, I think, between Tommy Bowe and Simon Zebo.
Yeah, but Zibo
Did-
also
did-
decent in the Six Nations. I think it's only fair that he gets the cap.
Yeah, Bowe didn't play in the Six Nations. He was injured for it. It was a
Well,
bit
there
of
you
an
go.
experience over class selection there, having Bowe going in the first place. So
Yeah, listen, I think the back three is on both sides is going to be interesting. The Aussies have always got. I mean, there's talk of Falau playing at 14 with Ione, who's just been declared fit at 11.
Yeah.
And then obviously depending how they go, Beal or Connor at 15, or
Yeah.
even old Adam Ashley average.
at 15, you think?
Yeah, I mean he bounces between 13 and 15.
Oh, and he'll play
with-
wing every night, wherever you want. Two dads. he's
Yeah,
in.
with comfort. I mean, he's one of those. He truly is versatile.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what they go for there.
He had an exhausting Father's Day too, of course, bearing in mind.
I'm
Okay,
sure
well,
he
look,
did.
I think if we're going to focus on these Aussies here and give a bit of shape to this discussion, you can't go Beal 15. I think his defensive frailties are very well known. He gets caught out of place quite a lot. Beal's often out of place. So it's going to be quite difficult, and you would think Israel Folau is Folau, huh?
Yes, hold on.
I'd go with Israel Folau. I think rugby league background as well, decent under the high ball. You want to have him to take a chance on either 10 or 15 in this series. I think it's a huge sort of gamble. James O'Connor at 10, Folau 15. It's not going to be hard to put a wing on the field. You've got Digby Ioane who's fit and ready. You can put Rod Davies in that team for all I care. A wing, it's fine, okay? The big problem is now is that 10, 12, 13 axis, and who's going to fill it for the Aussies? Because we've seen that Lions had the frailties there. It's an interesting series like this because there's no sort of straight up cast in stone selections for either side.
Well, the thing is, it's always going to be like this with the Lions series, especially nowadays when you look at the kind of opposition that they face and the build up to the test match, is that you haven't seen the guys in a top test match situation before. I mean, the guys haven't played a test team as combinations together. So it's interesting where to measure it up. But also, this Australian side is not settled. From injuries or whatever. This isn't a settled unit like the Lions faced in 2009, where they faced a very settled 15 that had success in that Springbok side.
Yeah.
I mean, who's in for a shot with 12? Are we looking at Pat McCabe?
I'm still not sure. Are we? Is anyone thinking?
You know what would be really exciting? I mean, would be Beal at 10, O'Connor at 12, and then Falau at 15.
That's the other way that you can do this.
Because
I feel so
O'Connor,
sorry for O'Connor.
once
O'Connor-
again, especially if you don't have Jamie Roberts running at you at 12, I think he would defend that channel pretty well.
But it's going to be a hectic test on Falau's positioning to be at 15 as opposed to wing in a big test match.
Yeah.
But Israel is just so exciting that
Well-
that's just the way I'd try to.
Well, the thing is, if you look at Robbie Dean's situation here, he's almost forced into making these sort of risky, potentially good calls, though. So I think that's almost in his favour for this. But again, James O'Connor, I just think his best position for Australia is fly half, and they should really go for that. We're going to take a quick little song break now. We're going to come back with the fixtures, and then after that, we're going to get into all the other things you can look forward to this weekend. So, Billy, you're going to stay online. Sean's going to basically just have a little flex. And we are going to play some Red Hot Chili Peppers.
No more creaking chairs, huh?
It was a creaking chair. Maz has already played it back. We've got visuals here.
It's great.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. You listen to Blogs on Balls. We're bringing up all the big hits and talking about big hits. There's going to be plenty this weekend. British and Irish Lions, they play their first test versus Australia. Guys, we're going to have to push for predictions here. We've assessed the teams, we've assessed the options, and who's going to be doing what and where. First test, I called right from the start. I reckon this is going to be the Lions. I wouldn't say it's in the bag, but we've got to be odds-on favourite here.
For the test match itself.
Talk about this test, yeah. This weekend's test, which is in Brisbane, and it's being played at 11:30 SA time. If you're looking to watch it and diarise that right now, 11:30 on Saturday, first test, not to be missed.
Listen, I think I've also got the Lions for the series myself. So if I've got the Lions for the series, I'm thinking, why should I back Australia to win this test match? You know what I mean? So I'm actually just leaning that way, actually.
Okay, that's two,
Yeah,
Billy.
I'm going Lions for this one. Even Brisbane almost swayed me because that is a bit of a fortress
Yeah.
at Suncorp.
And
Um,
our record is particularly bad in Brisbane, the Springbok record. But
Yeah.
also bearing in mind the Lions have been there already this series is what I factored in.
They have indeed.
And so it's usually a bit more fast-paced than usual. But you're thinking Lions, Billy, at Brisbane?
Yeah, I think Lions, and I'm interested to see because I'm back on the fence as to the series outcome.
You're on the
The
fence.
Lions
When did
have
that
lost,
happen?
they've lost quite a few guys.
When have you ever been on the fence with this?
I know. I went Aussies right in the beginning, but
Okay.
I'm starting to doubt that. But I'm interested to see how this one goes. But yeah, I'm happy to back the Lions. I think that front row battle is always going to be good. Old Ben Robinson up against Adam Jones.
It will be good.
That'll be one to watch. But I think the Lions pack just I think they might just have it. Huh?
I think they still got lots. And the line-out threat is huge. I think they're going to go with Parling on the weekend, that English lock.
Yeah.
Whose line-out form has been exceptional. I think they'll go with Parling and O'Connell on the bench. So I think that's one area where Australians are usually, they're usually quite sneaky at line-out times, as history has gone by. And I think the Lions are going to have them there too. So, I mean, they got them in the scrum.
You think O'Connell's going to start? Huh?
I'm not sure, Billy. I think it's going to be a tough call. I think if you got to pick on just your form, actually, well, in terms of the guy you want to dominate the line-out, I think Parling is winning this by a mile. I think he's been the best in the Northern Hemisphere in the past year.
Yeah.
By quite a way.
Okay, so kind of unanimous then. We all think the Lions are going to take that first test.
Yeah.
Which I must correct myself, it's 12 o'clock SA time. That's not to be confused with the other games that have been 11:30. So it's a really great time to watch the rugby as well. I'm not a big fan of waking up early and watching early tests, because you got to get into rhythm and focus on the stuff. So 12 o'clock, you can watch the British and Irish Lions. The same happens again next week, same time, 12 o'clock. That one's going to be played in Melbourne, of course, at the Etihad Stadium. So we're looking at a big capacity crowd there, huge crowd.
Yeah, the next two ones are going to be.
Yeah, and then after that, first weekend of July, the big test in Sydney. So I'm going to say a cock on block. I'm going to go with 2-1, and I think there's going to be 2 straight up for the Lions. They're going to win the first 2.
Sure, that's one. I'm thinking 2-1 Lions. I could have half thought about a 1-1 draw. I think we might even see some drama in a draw. Maybe like the version of Ronan O'Gara should have kicked it out in the second test against 2009. They learned the lesson, maybe.
I just think, we've spoken about form here and players doing this and that. I just think this Lions team they've got like a 76-man support staff like they always do. They've definitely learned things from this. And I think we show our hands so much now in Super Rugby, in our extended rugby championships and all those kind of things. It's not like there's a mystery here. These guys come to these foreign shores in the Southern Hemisphere. They know exactly who's who, what's what, who's going to play, the combination's done, and they've got this huge pool of players that they know they can counter these guys upon. So these guys are ultra smart, right? And they've got all kinds of technology they can use in this. So I think that Australians are very unlikely to win this one.
I think the Lions are playing very good rugby. I think it's a
too.
very, very good generation at the moment. I think this is a very, very strong squad. And I think I know they've lost a lot of injured players, but I look at what they put out, and there's always, of course, the Lions' depth is going to be formidable. And I just think, especially for this test match, we'll see maybe the injury count next week. Maybe there'll be the odd guy injured that might sway things a little bit. But for this first test, I think the Lions have got a better match day 23.
Great. Billy? Are we all unanimous now? Series win.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Lions.
Okay, very good. Also on Saturday, we've got the French. They are taking another beating against the All Blacks. You can catch that at 9:35. And then they will take another beating. We've already established here they can only play the All Blacks in Auckland. And when the stakes are already up, who cares? The French are going to take another beating. And of course, the big one on Saturday, our side, 5:15, the Springboks are playing Samoa at Loftus.
In the final.
It's the final. There's silverware on up for grabs here. The Springboks to win the first trophy of the season, which is amazing.
I saw a quote by Johan van Graan saying that we must expect finals rugby on Saturday.
Yes, I read that too.
We all know what that means.
Seriously, how can you be a journalist or anything and talk about finals rugby? That's like basically waking up and going, I've got nothing. I've got absolutely nothing. We're going to talk about finals rugby because then I can use things like battle of attrition. It's all down to this. Samoa have got nothing to lose. You can you can again play cliche bingo here. Finals rugby. Okay.
Well,
It's
the
Samoa.
other beauty from Van Graan was that he said no two games in World Rugby are the same.
Oh, it's a beaut.
And wait for it, a week is a long time in rugby.
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
Jeez, if you're going to pull out the full thing, it's a bingo card waiting to happen. But said on Twitter, I've gathered these things, being a Twitter reader from time to time, is that Brian Abana feels that Samoans are a much better side than the team that played them in the World Cup. And you've got to agree with that. They looked pretty good on Saturday, despite being against the Italians, obviously. But there's a decent side there. And I think if they use their big runners, our defense was shaky on the weekend, huh?
Yeah, look. It's not just. I mean,
Easily rattled.
so much of that Samoan team is based in Europe, and it's not like they're just in Europe to make up the numbers. A lot of guys are key players in some big teams in Europe as well. So, I mean, they're here to play,
Yeah.
and they play a good test. I think it'll be a good test match.
Yeah.
Listen,
I'll just be
I
straight, be a good
think,
test.
I mean, isn't it strange? Like every time you play a side, they're always, according to us, much better than they were the time before.
Oh, of course, because I mean we're very defensive about that, you know.
Yeah, but,
heaven,
you know,
heaven help
I
the
don't know.
public if they think that we're going to win this by 30 points. You know, they have to try to get that mindset in from the shot. You know,
Yeah, exactly. But
prepare us for the 15-12 win.
I think the Scots would have certainly woken us up, because I think the Italy game went a lot better than expected as first up, and you know what the Scotland game showed me is that, you know, once again you're playing against almost the best 15, because of obviously the Lions tour, but almost the best 15 from a country. So these guys are going to be able to put a decent side together no matter who you're playing. You know, and Scotland, the boys have always got some passion. I think the Samoans, it'll just be the usual. They'll come at us, they'll act like absolute thugs, high tackle a few of our guys. You know what I mean? They're going to be cheap shots. The referee is very, very inexperienced. I don't even know
Yeah.
what his name is.
Yeah,
But
it's John Lacey. I think this is like his second or third test match.
yeah, he's in for a long
This is
afternoon.
a heavy
because
assignment for him. This is heavy.
Even Itzebeth versus 15 guys is going to be a fairly even battle, I think.
Okay, but now we talked enough kaki about cliches. Did you guys get the name of that? I think he was number 8. Last year, the rugby panel, which is obviously a big feature of Ballz Radio here, released the CD, Revenge of the Nas, double CD, an absolute classic. Simon and I were actually talking about the potential sequel earlier today. There was the Pacific Islanders team came out, and there were some really funny names in there, and of course made up names. But there was a guy playing for Samoa on the weekend. His name was Trevor Anus.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
No, I think that the inner child in all of us could not help but have a chuckle on that one.
yeah, he's a very dirty player.
Strong on the blind side.
Trevor Anus. Guys, we're losing focus here. We're going to go back to our playlist for one time, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up for the show. Thanks so much for joining us so far. We're rewarding you with some Craig David. Yeah. When's the last time you heard Craig David? Craig David crapping on about something happening on a Friday night. Guys, we're going to wrap it up right now. Thanks so much for joining us again. This is show, let's just call it 15, 16 maybe. I don't know. Sean and I have really enjoyed entertaining you this morning. And of course, Sport Billy over the Skype. Guys, we're going to wrap up just for the Champions Trophy here. We've got the semi-finals coming up. We're playing the Poms, and the Indians are playing the Sri Lankans. Gut feeling, are we going to make the final in this one?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Again, Sean,
Yeah.
we love your positivity in the show. The fact that you don't hold anything back, you just go in there.
I'm so tentative about it, but I think so. I think we're on a good way. I think it's a nice. I quite like playing England as the host country in this scenario as well. Who feel like they'll have a bit to prove. And actually, I think our boys, even though there's obviously been such pressure that's been so hyped up about ICC tournaments and us, I think there's a little bit of a. We've got less to lose feeling than others up against the host nation like this. I think we're playing good cricket.
I think so
Yeah,
too.
not a lot expected of us, so which is probably a good thing.
Probably helped a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably did help a bit.
And yeah, I think we should try and drag this ball tampering thing on a bit.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Absolutely, that can only help our cause. this
If
type of
nothing
nonsense.
else, just for
Yeah.
some funny tweets, I would just love to see that kind of happen more.
We should have batsmen ask for the ball to be checked every couple of overs, disrupt the rhythm.
And I think what AB must do is just blame Trott as well at the same time and go to the umpire and say, look, I think Trott is tampering with the ball.
Yeah,
Even
Bob
if-
Willis told me.
While he's batting.
Bob Willis has assured me that he's tampering with the ball.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, if we don't get a ball change, I'll be very surprised.
I reckon the first ball that reverses, even if it's the greatest thing that Jimmy Anderson's ever done, well, he's done many things, obviously being better than Dale Steyn, as we all know. The moment that thing reverses, if I was AB, just step right up and say, been scratching, I blame Trot, done deal.
Yeah, look at Sally's fingernails.
Yeah. Hasn't had a pedicure, sorry, manicure in weeks. Billy, the other game, Sri Lanka versus India, I didn't really back India to start with in this tournament. I thought they would crack, and I thought they'd have a big IPL hangover, but they're just going from strength to strength. That top order is just doing wonders, and they definitely have the bowlers to kind of back it up. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, I don't know. Sri Lanka, for me, they're great in this kind of tournament because they've got Pakistan's sort of, I don't really give a toss attitude, but they've got some real game players in there.
It's reliant on a few match winners, that Sri Lankan lineup, whereas you think that possibly the Indian side is a bit more kind of spread out in terms of guys that contribute to the match. I think you look at Sri Lanka, it's quite reliant on Malinga, Sangakkara, Jaya Wardener possibly, Although here it's been batting quite well as well. So maybe if one of them fire, if Malinga can go through the whole batting lineup, they'll put them in a huge position to do it.
I'm backing the Lankans.
You're backing the Lankans to do it?
My heart says it.
Their team of old farts is going to pull something off. I'm actually backing them for the overall title.
They're certainly more battle hardened as a team for this kind of fixture. Is one thing that's huge in their favour as well.
Well, look, Billy, I'm
glad it's in that semi-final.
Me
and not
too,
our
completely.
semi-final. Hey.
But I also reckon whoever comes out of that game is going to be quite, buggered, to put it blankly, to play either us or England. So I think we've got a very good chance here. And if we win this one, and I often say if, I'm going to claim this as the biggest sort of sporting achievement for the Proteas. One day side, of course.
Way. Oh, thank you.
One day side.
Thank you. I was about to say such heresy was going to be sound on the
Different
show.
thing altogether. And I would love to celebrate something about the Proteas for once.
Are the streets of Johannesburg ready for a win, though? With the ticket parade to follow. Yeah?
Oh, that is amazing. All right, guys, I think we've covered everything today. It's been one hell of a good show. Covering content, that is. Execution, I think, is obviously about 6 out of 10 as usual. We've had a great chat with Keegan about the football. We've covered the British and Irish Lions tour. We've covered the international rugby. And, of course, Justin Rose winning the US Open, which is such an amazing achievement for him. And like we spoke about, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. So we're going to play out with some REM. And if you want to catch this again, you'll be able to catch it on ballz.co.za. They put together a nice little compilation for us of the show. And along there, on ballz.co.za, you can catch all the other shows. You can catch other podcasts from big interviews they have. Yes, this is not the only show on Ballz, if you think that is the case. Not at all. There's some really great shows on here with really big profile interviews and personalities. You can get it all on ballz.co.za. And, of course, the afternoon shows carry on now with Sasha Martiningo and Daisy Fencham with Gears. They talk mostly about cars, and then it goes into the afternoon drive show with Darren Scott, John Walland, Simon Hill, and a whole host of other interesting people. So, you know where to go for sport and music. We're going to play out this one. Catch you back next Tuesday. Every Tuesday, 10 till 12. From me, at Follow the Bounce, Ben Karpinski, and at Simply Sean Wilson. Catch you next time.